Uh, Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Today we are finishing Phoenix Wright's last trial. Let's get started, shall we? April 19th, 11:21 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. Very impressive, Mr. Wright. I have to say, I expected nothing less. We've only just begun. I was hoping you could tell me a bit more about what happened, actually. I do not think you would believe me if I told you. Better that you discovered the truth for yourself. I was thinking of you, you know. I think we need less thinking and more talking. That night in the hospital, what really happened? By the way, the way your eyes gleam, Mr. Wright. You're scared, Trucy. Speaking of which, where is she? You have seen the problem yourself. The letter. The one shot in the forehead one, right? Yes, and the reason he speaks of... I cannot deny my mentor's wishes, even if it meant my own death. Why not? This is something I will not say, for now, at least. What's this for now business? I've done many things in my life, some well, some poorly. But this is a cross we must bear alone to our graves. We? You wanted to know about the night of the incident. Finally, the guy sure gets... This guy sure likes to take his time getting to the important stuff. Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. And found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. 2? Yes, the one I had used on stage, and the one that had been used by my partner, Valant. Oh, for the Zack and Valant quick draw thing. My mentor had the look of one sleeping. I stood by his bedside, hearing only the light sound of his breathing. Then I took the pistol into my hand. I cannot deny that my resolve faltered then, for a moment. You faltered? You mean you thought about shooting him? Recall there was a reason I could not refuse his request. His last such request, though not his first. So, there were other requests you couldn't refuse before. To be honest, I've not always been steadfast. I fear I've brought pain upon Trucy. Was Magnifi coercing his disciples somehow? Just what was going on in Troop Grammar Eye? Yet, in the end I did not shoot him. Instead I turned and shot the clown. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. In your pocket? I believe if you examine the bullet in the clown's head, you will find it to be different than the one in my mentor. What were those called? Rifling marks. Yes. Well, that is all I have to tell you, concerning the case. Concerning the case? You mean, there's something else you can tell me? Ah, ha ha ha. You are a fascinating man, Mr. Wright. Thanks? Yes, there is something. My mentor, his eyes opened. What? Magnifi Grammar Eye. Hey, old devil, he was not asleep, you see. Of course, the gunshot would have woken him anyway. And there we are at our last discussion as mentor and pupil. It was not a long discussion, maybe 5-10 minutes or so. What did you talk about? Ha! Mr. Wright, did I not just tell you? It does not concern this case. That grammar eye seems pretty steadfast to me. Maybe just stubborn. Mr. Wright, your presence is requested me in the courtroom. Once again, I am in your hands. Right. Let's get back in there. April 19th, 11:37 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 7. Court is now back in session. During our visa, a bullet was found in and dug out from the clown's head. Well, this is news. And the rifling marks. There wasn't time to do a detailed analysis, though they did find the weapon type matches a meta weapon. Well, that's not very conclusive, is it? Which is why I'm about to call my very decisive witness. Your decisive witness. How many times have I heard those words? Though they often turn out to be far less decisive than you think. Oh, don't worry on my account. I'm quite confident this witness will do the job. After all, he's intimately acquainted with the players in our little production. Being the other half of Troop Grammar Eye's famous duo, Zack and Volant. Volant Grammar Eye. So, we get to meet the great Magnify's other disciple. You're so young. Perhaps we'll start by asking your name and occupation. Volant Grammar Eye, magician. And you're the decisive witness, are you? You can prove your fellow student your partner's guilt. Fate. The grand illusion, filled with traps and tricks. Wait, the shooting took place in the hospital at after 11 o'clock at night. If you're a witness, does that mean you were there that late? If one would deduce this logically, the conclusion is yes. Okay. I always get the characters, don't I? I have an interesting fact for you. You see, several days before the crime, my witness received this. That looks very familiar. Wait, that's the same letter Zack Grammar I received. Yes, or perhaps I should say, ta-da! Yeah, I'm trying to make him sound a little bit younger. Then he's older version of himself. Order! Then what does it say? Surely not the same thing. Perhaps you should see for yourself. Why, it's practically the same. The court accepts this into evidence. Magnify's second letter 2 added to the court record. Typed document submitted as evidence by Prosecutor Gavin. This is most unusual. Exactly what was going on with you folks? Letter telling Volant to come at 11:20 p.m. Check it says the same thing except Volant replacing Zack with Volant and 11:05 with 11:20. Volant Grammar Eye, age 37, gender male. Zack's young partner and understudy. The two of them on stage was a sight to see. What exactly was your Troop Grammar Eye up to? By what you mean? I'm just having trouble envisioning a man who would ask his students to kill him. Both of them, no less. It's just my opinion, Judge. But from these letters, I'd say he was caressing them, not asking them. We walked the magician's path together, and in doing so, shared much of our lives. When people are so close, there's a strain. A warping of relations, you might say. But this has nothing to do with the case at hand. By which you mean you're not going to tell us. Which makes me wonder even more about this reason they couldn't refuse. Well, let's get on with the testimony for starters. The defendant, Zack Grammar Eye, stands accused. Tell us why. I will do more than that. For where he walks, the red of roses rise, singing hymns to the miracle that is magic. Fascinating. Though I hardly need to remind you. that the evidence could just as clearly point to you as the suspect. The letter, the murder weapon, and now the 2 bullets found at the scene. In fact, the only difference seems to be the designated time. As every magician knows, timing is everything. Timing is everything. Yes, and now it's time to get this party fired up. The night of the crime. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. That sweet kiss I gave to the clown. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime. Indeed. I would think. This fact alone would clear my name of suspicion. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zach Grammeri, is guilty. And if it wasn't Zach Grammeri, then the killer was you, Valant. And no disappearing act will get you out of that. Hey, that rhymed. That night I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. Which, according to the letter, was 11:20 p.m. Indeed. In magic, timing is everything. Right. Consider, the illusion of teleportation. If I were to appear on stage before my stunt double has left, how would that look? Why, it would reveal the very secrets of my magic. Now that you've revealed the very secrets of your magic for all of us, let's move on. You entered the designated time. And what did you say? The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow. So, you weren't worried for your own safety at all. I mean, you smelled gunpowder, yes? What if the shooter was still nearby? I did not consider this, to be honest. It is forbidden for a magician to have a good imagination. Really? Isn't magic all about illusions and imagination? How about this? How about this? You were the shooter, which is why you weren't afraid. Now you are the one imagining. It is forbidden for a lawyer to have a good Okay. It is forbidden for a lawyer to have a good imagination. The witness will refrain from pausing so suspiciously before responding. My forbidden imagination is starting to imagine things. I do not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Which brings us back to this reason neither of you could refuse. So it does. And my partner, he did not refuse. But Magnifi wrote the same thing to you. Why could you refuse if Zach couldn't? Because I have a will of steel. Of course. I also do this trick where I bend steel bars. So perhaps steel isn't all so strong. So which is it? Mind if I continue? Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. That sweet kiss I gave to the clown. Very verbose, aren't we? There were 2 bullet holes at the scene, one in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you. No doubt my partner Zach has said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed the murder. I'd better dig around here a bit more and see what I turn up. Mr. Valant, let me ask something else concerning the crime scene. Namely, how many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean what, precisely? 2 pistols were used in the Zack and Volant quick-draw shooting, correct? 1 for each of you. You are well informed, yes. Yet, only one of my old friends sat in the hospital room that night. What did Zack tell me back in the lobby? Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. I took the pistol I'd fired and placed it in my pocket. I see no problem with that statement. Only 1 pistol is visible in this photograph of the crime scene, after all. So you picked up that pistol and fired it? Indeed I did. Alakazam, alakazing, alakaboom. Is the number of pistols really so important? Target, you are wrong. The number of pistols is quite important, Your Honor. Very well. Please add this detail to your testimony. What can I do but obey? Only 1 pistol was in the hospital room that night. With it I shot the clown. They informed the doctor and the police. So, you took the only pistol there and fired it? That's correct. And that pistol was this one, which was left at the crime scene. Good show! I see you too are a magician of sorts. And you're an idiot of sorts. Do you have any idea what you just said? I see the fire in your eyes as you glance at witness. So how about heating up this child a bit? This slow balance bore me. Got a hunch, but maybe that's all it is. Maybe I should ask about something else. On second thought, let's run with this testimony for a little while longer. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So, you informed the police. What did you do then? What do you suppose I did? Used my magic to levitate my mentor's corpse, perhaps? I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Now please answer the question and skip the sarcasm. After I made my report, I called the doctor and we returned to the room. While we waited for the police to arrive, we discussed stomach medicine. Viv confirmed this with the doctor. It all checks out. He praised Mr. Vallon's knowledge of stomach medicine, in fact. Now, it is an honor I do not deserve, but I accept. Both of Magnifi's students received the same letter. Both admit to having gone to the hospital that night. 2 bullets were fired and one of them killed Magnifi. Time to find the cracks in his testimony. Okay. Friends, but let me press the present button! No, what the fuck? Okay. According to the defendant, Zach Grammari, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on that table. 2? One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead. Then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we assume our defendant has some brains in his head. Well, what about... what about what Mr. Vallant has told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense. What might that be? I told you, I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Vallant. Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us. If he compares a bullet taken from the victim's skull with a bullet fired from this gun, the rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. Mr. Vallant, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead. Order, order, order! Well, this is all rather sudden. What have I done? Prosecutor Gavin, I owe the court an apology. Sorry? Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks only proves the type of gun that fired them. But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verified the murder weapon. Which is why I am apologizing to you now. Quite sincerely, I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my use? You made that mistake 20 minutes ago. That was just this morning. I am still young. And I might add, it wasn't really my fault. If the defendant had only admitted he took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime, we would not be having this pleasant discussion now. Volant grammar, aye? Yes, Your Honor. You were presented to this court as a decisive witness, but you've proven to be more divisive than decisive. Objection! You'll see, in time. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next. Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin? When Mr. Volant entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot. And as his next testimony will prove, right, the real fight is about to begin. Bring it. Very well. The witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what. Who shot what? I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. It was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at the time was my partner, not me. Those times are rather close, you have to admit. You're talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. To use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi is easy to explain in this situation, Judge. Just something. Take, for example, our debut hit single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button, and it will play for 2 minutes 15 seconds. Do it 100 times, the result is the same. Their debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long? What a ripoff! Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus requires admirable focus. And in the time of death determined by the doctor, there is an incontrovertible truth. Very well. Prosecution warns us that we're dealing with rather precise times. And we can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customarily broad, sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in penalty. Carry on, Mr. Wright. Carry on, Wright. Can I not press everything? What? I can't press everything. Wait, no. I don't need to. I haven't had to do this in a while. Save state. Oh wow. I did have a save state there, didn't I? I think. Honestly, I don't remember. But we'll see. I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. 11:20 p.m. Can you prove that's when you arrived? Alas, such a feat may be beyond even the great Volant. But there was no one in that room but Magdalene, and he was departed after a fashion. I have heard defendant Zach Grammar's sworn deposition. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. It was 10 minutes before I left the room, and the victim was still alive. The time indicated by this letter to Zach was 11:05 p.m. Exactly. Which means the witness could not have entered that room until before 11:15, because his partner was still in the middle of his crime. I see someone did their arithmetic homework. You see, the defendant himself has corroborated the witness's testimony. Does that all make sense? I don't see any problem with that testimony. If you say so, let's continue, shall we? Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. You walk in on a murder and the first thing you do is shoot the clown. The disciple does what the disciple must. My mentor's request, without reason, had caused for me a surfeit of sorrow. For what would I, Valant, be now without him? May the soul of Magnity the Great find greater peace above. Yes, I muttered to myself as I pulled that lonely trigger. In any case, I believe this is nothing more than what we have already learned. I'm still waiting for one of those right moments. Attorney? May I remind you that baseless remark will earn penalties. Proceed with that in mind. Yes, Your Honor. What a pain this is turning out to be. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. Did the doctor say nothing? Did the doctor say anything concerning the cause of death? Why, yes. I believe he screamed, "My God, he had been shot in the head." It doesn't take a doctor to notice that. I believe I would have said the same thing. And I would have penned the requiems that arose in my soul at that horrid sight. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned investigation? In any case, I believe this is nothing more than what we have already learned. I'm still waiting for one of those right moments, Attorney. It was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. Why is there an estimated time of death here in the autopsy when we know the time of death? How could the doctor be so precise with the time? You do usually only get an estimated time of death, true. I'm not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. You have, Your Honor, in one of Mia's cases. Magic reveals in making the complex appear simple, but reality is the opposite. What appears complex in this case is a simple matter of subtraction. I see another person has done their arithmetic homework. The point here is the IV the victim was taken. It's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. Recall what we heard earlier about the victim Magnity Grammarized schedule. Every night at 11, Magnity took an IV trip for 30 minutes. I can see the IV bag right there, yes. Now, look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end. Ah! The needle's been removed! Doubtlessly, it fell out when he was shot. That would seem to be the case. When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. Ah! You could just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions, for our purposes, as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determines the time of death. From the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had stopped 10 minutes after administration began. A view report out of the court record. And so it was when I, Valant, entered that room. Type reports submitted as evidence by Prosecutor Gavin. IV stopped 10 minutes after administration began. IV report 30 minutes are required to administer full IV, and the amount remaining IV stopped 10 minutes after administration began. 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. And this is proof. Well, Mr. Wright. Does that seem important? Well, seeing how it is the biggest clue we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important. Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Behold the power of arithmetic. Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony. Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. The water of life springs not eternal. The remaining IV liquid proves my innocence. Did you notice the IV yourself by any chance? When first I entered that room, a stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead. And then his left arm did I spy a rose, drooping and wilting. Its thorn the discarded IV needle. Knocked from the fane by the force of his assault. Luckily for you. If that IV had not done the... why, you might be a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color. Your lucky color? Indeed, even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self. For it always, without fails, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Volant won their first Magician's Grand Prix! Yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians. I was adorned in this attire then too. Our trophy, a bust. Ah, what a day that was! This is one trip down memory lane no one needs! The reference is a reference! It's a big top! I agree with you, Phoenix. I agree with you, but it makes me so happy seeing a reference. My lucky color, yes indeed. That IV too. I say, I think 'twas hewed specially for me, Volant. That does seem to be the case, indeed. Well, Miss Wright, any thoughts on this testimony? Volant sure looks happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? Oh wait, because there's another statement I want to press. I don't see any problem with that testimony. You say so. Let's continue, shall we? Sometimes the magical things of all is the truth. You already said that. The one in the room at the time was my partner, not me. You entered that hospital room at 11:20 p.m. The time given by the defendant, Zack Grammeri, was 11:05 p.m. You didn't run into him at the hospital that night? This is why I never perform with amateurs, you see? Huh? Picture, if you will, the nighttime hospital. Outside, only the pale light of the moon. If two dressed as we were to meet in such circumstances, I dare say that would ruin the mood completely. The mood isn't in question here. I believe the witness is saying they didn't meet, yeah? What is magic if not the study of beauty? Us meeting was not only out of the question, but it was an impossibility. What is magic if not the study of how to make absolutely no sense at all? That said, was there a contradiction in there? I don't see any problem with that testimony. You say so, okay. An alibi over a matter of minutes. Precise is right. Impressing with impunity will earn me a nice penalty too. Better focus on one thing. This time of death. Bum bum. Bum 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 bum. It certainly sounds like your lucky colors brought you plenty of luck. But not this time. Mr. Volant, your lucky colors betrayed you. I'm afraid you've lost me. Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence. What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well based. Don't worry, I've got all your bases right here. Phoenix, what is it with you and your obsession of being based in this video game? Very well, let's hear the defense's claim. Where is your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valant has told us? It's this, right? Yeah, it's green. The crime scene tells all, Your Honor. The photo of the crime scene? Well, all this talk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us outright. Just where's this contradiction in this photo? My pleasure, and I assure you, it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white. Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What in this photo contradicts the witness's testimony? Valant Grammar, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes? Kind of takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright? Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene. What's this? Confusion, doubt. Tell us, what do your elderly eyes spy? Even my elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Valant. Look at the IV bag. What is this? What foul mag... It would be hard to call the IV liquid yellow. And I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph. Alakaz, no! Order! What does this mean?
Objection!
This is some kind of mistake. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. Your witness's mistake. The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Valant Grammar, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not. Well, this contradiction can only mean one thing.
Objection!
And to think, you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. Something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence. Yes, a contradiction. One that I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. What? How do you mean? How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree, at a glance the IV liquid does appear a sort of greenish yellow. But I assure you, the liquid itself is quite yellow. Yellow liquid? How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, it's green. Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? A bag? Oh, you mean the plastic bag on the hook? It looks like I want to say a light blue. Precisely. I figured it out yet. Put a yellow liquid in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color. I see. Your explanation does have this ring of truth to it.
Objection!
As I thought. There's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave. For you, that is. Grave? The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Ah. Ugh. Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So let me ask, how did the witness know that the IV liquid was actually yellow? Alex, oh my god. Order. Mr. Wright, you'll explain this at once. The witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid, so I'm sure it means something. But what? I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valantre MRI, has testified that the IV liquid was yellow because... So the second and the third one can both be true. What? Huh? Okay. From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before. But not inside the blue bag we see in the photo. Yeah, those second and third options meant the same thing. He saw the liquid by itself in a clear, colorless bag. I suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not sure as to what it all means. Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at the hospital? That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor.
Objection!
I'm afraid I find nothing. So, what if he knows of IV liquid's color? Leaves it getting excited over absolutely nothing to our teeny bopper fans, yeah?
Objection!
The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. A 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remaining. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin. I remember it well. However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag. Wait, I know. An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid. I'm right? As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sands through an hourglass, IV liquid enters the patient's body. At which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in.
Objection!
Let me get this straight, Alphonse. You're saying the witness watered down the victim's IV bag? Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow. No, wait, I said wait. How might an amateur such as yourself as myself essay to perform such a task?
Objection!
I'm an amateur too, but I can pour water into a cup.
Objection!
I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag. Quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a feat? That's a point. Amateurs. I, at least, would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag. You don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV to throw off the time of death. I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us back down to earth? Valantre MRI, I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime. Might I ask what you're strongly suggesting? Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag, and all he had to do was work a little magic, and the prop was...
Take that!
the victim's syringe! It's the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick. And easy enough for an amateur to use.
Objection!
What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean, not a trace of liquid in it.
Objection!
And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valant Grammar, as you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes the perfect clock. One that you could manipulate at will. Alakazar! I do believe, well, this being his first, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that, while there is a doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in that bag, the time of death cannot be proven. That brings our trial to a close for today. Well, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. I can do a little much-needed investigation work. I see there are no objections.
Objection!
Well, fuck. Truly, there's no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word to the wise. Underestimate the young, and they'll sweep your feet out from under you, in a way you'll never ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking. What's he talking about? You say the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of the IV liquid. But there's no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Yes, quite true. Huh? He's admitting it? Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This I had not, after all, why linger in the past, when the future holds so much. You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin? Proof, Judge. I have another way to prove my case. This evidence, no less. What's this? This is the victim Magnifi Grammarai's diary. Diary? After going into the hospital, Magnifi began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his startling debut, and of meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end, quite appropriately, with his death. Wait, that book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request? Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote in his journals that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 p.m. Let's read it, shall we? This does appear to have been written just before his death. The court accepts this into evidence. Magnifi's diary added to the court record. That document submitted as evidence by Prosecutor Gavin. He reads the very last part with particular care. Let me press the court record button. Oh, wait. A memoir of sorts written up just before he died. Can I open you? Am I not allowed to open you? It's the last page. The diary ends here. Huh? What's this? It looks like a page was ripped out. Well now, isn't that interesting? Tonight's IVs in maybe the last. I'll leave the rest of them. The first should come soon. Its journal may end here or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Oh, is that what he did? Of course, by his, he refers to our defendant, Zach Grammeri. Yes, that would make sense. He was the first scheduled visitor, after all. But look at what he said before that. This journal may end here, or it may go on. It may go on! Magnific grammar I intended to write again. That is... If Zach Grammeri didn't pull the trigger... I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim diary does not go on, it ends. Because Magnifi's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Zach Grammeri. Order, order, order! Prosecutor Gavin! Are you certain that Magnific Grammeri wrote this? There is no mistaking his handwriting. Well, this does seem significant. According to this, Magnific Grammeri did intend to continue his diary. Yes, if his diary ended here, which plainly it did. Then the one who pulled the trigger was the first visitor, Zach Grammeri. Well, how do you like me now, Elvite? Still too green for your taste, He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe. That he overlooked such an obvious problem with this precious evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, the witness's testimony we heard was lacking. But put together, with this evidence, it seemed quite sufficient for a case. If this diary is accepted, like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence. What? You have some evidence that overturns this diary. It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment. Very well. Please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright. Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown to the court. Now that we've come this far, I hope you have something a little more decisive. Show us evidence that proves the victim continued writing his diary. Alright, I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving that the diary didn't end with this page is... Not the page, right? Yeah. Hurts presenting that because I know what it means, what it does to this man. First, take a close look at this diary. Note that a page has been clearly ripped out. What's that? I hadn't noticed that at all. That's why we're still here talking about this. As it just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page. Allah, I don't believe it. Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Magnifique Grammar. That's the defense's position. Wait, let me see that. What in Sam Hill? Why, this is the continuation of the victim's diary. Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page in Magnifique's diary. Quite remarkable. Would you care to explain what all this means, Attorney? The diary continued after his first visitor came. Which means that the victim was still alive after Zach Grammari left. Leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Valant Grammari. No. No! That handwriting, too, matches that on the other page. This is, without a doubt, the genuine article. Order, order, order! But wait, that's impossible. That old man couldn't have written that.
Objection!
Finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, Evite? Resist what? Presenting solid evidence? Judge. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? The prosecution would like to call a new witness. But Prosecutor Gavin! If this evidence overturns the current witnesses, I ask only to put it on hold. Please, my new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes, no more. I promise, Your Honor. Well, if you put it that way. Mr. Wright, what's your take on this? Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, we'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway. So, it might as well be sooner. Then, though this is highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom. I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped-out page was too obvious. He must have known. And I should have known it was a bad sign all around. Holding trial with no audience is a first, even for me, Prosecutor Gavin. I beg the court's understanding. But I had to make a judiciary deal with his witness to secure his testimony. A judiciary deal. The details for his testimony might have some legal ramifications, shall we say? I thought it best to contain the information to this room. Well, very well. And you are the witness, I gather. Ah, yes, sir. No, that isn't it. State your name and occupation for the record. My name's Drew Misham. I'm a painter. A painter? And you are somehow related to this case? No, well, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Misham, was it, do you know what this is? Oh, yeah, I know it well. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before? Oh, yeah, I mean, I made it. You... What? You made it? Yes. You might call it one of my works. The regional prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Illegal evidence has been prepared for the trial of Zach Grammari. Illegal? Evidence? I initiated an investigation and found this witness. A painter to the world at large, Drew Misham has another side, you might say. He is skilled in making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words. Forgeries? Well, so we are to understand that this page here... a fake, prepared by a certain defense attorney.
Objection!
Hold it! I didn't prepare this evidence.
Objection!
Ah, the attorney speaks. Something about this page, I presume. But what is he saying? It makes no sense. After all, it was you who presented this evidence to us, Phoenix Wright. Witness, Mr. Misham, was it? You requested this forgery. Who was your client? That... I don't know. What? Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want and receive my payment. That's the extent of my contact with them. But there's no proof this is a fake. It's a fake. Huh? To avoid just this sort of problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say without a doubt, this is mine. Mr. Wright, you've just presented illegal evidence to this court. My court. Yeah, so have many of these prosecutors. I did it unknowingly. They did it willingly. Why don't the prosecutors get this fucking treatment, man? It was careless of me. That's all I can say.
Oh, old boy. Here.
What's this?
I don't know. I just got it over there in the hall. He told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. He said it was really important.
It was all a trap. A fatal trap. Mr. Wright. Yes? Do you have an explanation for yourself? If I did, would the court hear it? Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime. And presenting it in court is a serious mistake. A fatal mistake for an attorney. Fatal tool, perhaps, for your client, I fear. Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one! Your Honor, wait. I understand that presenting forged evidence in court is a serious crime, but you cannot hold my clients responsible for actions I undertook as an individual. I am sorry, Mr. Wright. No, Phoenix is right here. This would be a retrial. He would not get a guilty... This would be a retrial. Your Honor! Another close call, I dare say. If the prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip, everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? Fuck you. I even gave you a chance. Too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself. I see no need for further discussion on this matter. Special witness dismissed. Mr. Attorney. Yes? Could I ask your name? Phoenix Wright. Mr. Wright. I have seen and studied many people, but none like you. I'll remember you, Mr. Wright. Though I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way, this trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. However, this court must... Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Zack. There is one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible. I'm afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I most certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you. Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing your verdict? When your defendant does not exist. Doesn't exist? What are you talking about? I am talking about this. Mr. Enigma! The defendant's escaped. Find him, quick! Bailiff, close all exits from the building. Bum, 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 bum. On the double, he must not be allowed to escape. That day, in that courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shady Enigma, aka Zach Grammar, did not just escape from court. He literally, unbelievably, vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again. Not since that day. This is the Grammar miracle. No verdict was declared. After all, the defendant didn't exist. That's how it happened. The trial of magician Zach Grammar vanished, along with him for all eternity. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however. But not until 7 years later. To be continued. And we will find out the aftermath of all of that trial, of Wright's last trial, next time. Bye-bye!